Hello, everybody. How's it going? It's me, Krendor, and boy, do we got a good faction focus today. The one I've been waiting for, the army that got me into Warhammer, the Lizardmen slash Seraphon. So, faction focus is still not given the full picture. We still need to know points. There's like a bunch of war scrolls still. There's like all the spells and all the, whatever it might be, but we get a pretty decent glimpse into an army from this with the battle traits and all that type of stuff. So, very excited, taking a look at Seraphon here. So let's see what we got. So right off the bat, we've got battle traits and we've got asterisms. So this is, I believe, what they used to have in Age of Sigmar 2.0, kinda. They kind of had like an asterism type thing. I think Starborn kind of did. I actually didn't really play that much Starborn last edition. I played it like twice, and then I always just felt bad playing it because it would be like I did 800 mortal wounds, and that was it. I don't know. It was one of those armies where it didn't really feel good to play against, and you felt bad playing it against people. I guess in like a tournament setting, it's like whatever, but either way. So we've got, right away, once per battle, deployment phase, pick an asterism ability. That asterism ability can be used for the rest of the battle, but others cannot, unless allowed by the Further the Great Plan ability. So the asterisms are passive, effect, weapon, companion weapons, that's important, used by friendly Seraphon units, and they have crit 2 hits, so pretty nice. You've got subtract 1 from the rend characteristic of melee weapons for attacks that target friendly Seraphon units wholly within friendly territory. You've got add 2 to move characteristic of Seraphon units, and then you've got add 1 to casting rolls for Seraphon units. So a pretty nice variety here. And then we've got once per battle round, start of the third battle round, you can use this ability if you meet the condition below that corresponds to the asterism you picked in the deployment phase. So this is kind of confusing. When I first read this, I thought this was like, oh, I have to do whatever this is. So like if I picked the Tepok +1 the casting one, then if I want to get Itzel the Tamer, the passive, I have to do the Itzel the Tamer thing. So I read that, that's how I read it the first time. But then I reread it and I was like, oh, so it's, you can use this ability if you meet the condition below that corresponds to the asterism you picked in the deployment phase. So if you picked add 1 to casting rolls for friendly Seraphon units and it's Tepok the Seer, then you have to complete Tepok the Seer right here, which is there are any friendly Slan units on the battlefield and no friendly Slan units are in combat or have been destroyed. And if you do that at the start of the third battle round, then you can go ahead and pick a second asterism. So I think this is going to get confused a lot. I think people are going to play this wrong sometimes, but this is how they play it. So you essentially want to pick a thing you can do off the start, right? So some of these seem easier than others. So 3 or more enemy units have been destroyed. That seems like it could be decently easy, especially if you're crit 2 hitting on your companion weapons with like monsters and stuff. Then you have, there are no enemy units wholly within friendly territory. That one seems like the most difficult one to do. I mean, your opponent could just save a deep strike and then deep strike you and be like, oh, you don't get your thing, right? That seems annoying. The enemy general is in combat or has been destroyed. This one doesn't seem as bad, because if you go second on turn 2 and you just get into combat with their general, then you can probably do this pretty easily. Like, you don't even have to kill him. Like, even if you do kill him, it's like, cool. But even if you're just in combat, you still get it. So that one doesn't seem too bad. And then there are any friendly Slan on the battlefield, no friendly Slan are in combat or been destroyed, which also seems decently easy. So I feel like you start the game with either add 2 to move or the add 1 to casting. Like, that just seems like the most obvious to me. I don't know. I mean, Itzel the Tamer's not bad either. If you've got like a big companion weapon heavy team and you're just like going out there, like maybe you take that one. I feel like the -1 rend is the worst one you could take. Like, that's just so yeah, I think most people are probably going to start with add 1 to casting or the crit 2 hits or even the move. Like, the move, it's still like getting the enemy general in combat or destroyed can be kind of tricky, especially by the start of turn 3. Like, your opponent knows you picked that and they just kind of hide their general in the back. So that one's kind of tricky as well. So, but I mean, adding 2 to move is also really nice for your entire army. So maybe you don't even care about getting the second one, or you've got the move characteristic to go get their general and tie him up. I don't know, but it feels like if I'm taking one, I'm probably taking the +1 to cast off the start or the crit 2 hits, depending on the type of army you're going. So probably, I think casting is probably the safest because you don't want your slaying in combat anyway, right? So I mean, honestly, these all seem really good. You could take if you do the first thing, then you're obviously going to get like -1 to rend for things hitting your Seraphon, which is great, or the crit 2 hits or the move. So I mean, I think this is a cool system. I like that a lot. Also, I noticed that it seems that Coalesced and Starborn are now things of the past. It seems like we're back together as one army, which I'm not gonna lie, I'm happy about. At first, I was like, oh, this is cool. Like back when they did the original, separation of them, and now I'm like, it's so annoying to balance that. Some units get buffed because of one of the things. Like, this unit's really strong in Coalesced. It's got to be nerfed. And then they nerf it, but then it also nerfs it for Starborn. And, like, it was just annoying. So I think it seems like we're back to one big unit of an army. And I think it's easier to balance that way. And I kind of like that because there's times where I wanted to run certain units with, like, a Slan or, like, with Starborn-esque stuff. And it just wouldn't work. And you're like, this sucks. So I like this more. So cool. And it still probably drives you in one direction. Like, so I don't know. We'll see. So here's a battle formation. One of the, it seems like every faction has 4. So here's one of the 4. Pick up the 3 friendly Saurus or Croxagore units that are in combat to be the targets. Once per turn at the end of any turn, by the way. For each target, make a pile and move, and then pick an enemy unit in combat with the target and roll a d3. On a 2-up, you do mortal damage equal to the roll. So I mean, that's pretty good. They kind of just bust their way through. I think this is also a command ability now. What's it called? Pile through or something. It's like one of the new command abilities to replace Inspiring Presence. But your monsters or big guys are just like, blah, 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 and they just like power through. I think it's power through, actually. But this is nice. I mean, if you're close to an objective, you can get your guys onto an objective. Maybe there's like good positioning you can do to block something. I don't know. There's probably things you can do, and then you can finish up with some mortal wounds on them. So I think it's all right. We'll have to see the other ones, but it's okay. Then we have Mystical Unforging. Subtract 1 from rend of the target's weapons. So, I mean, you can start getting things to -2 rend. Pretty good. I mean, anytime you're lowering rend, it makes you're essentially making your save rolls better, right? So that's pretty neat. Well, I guess you're not technically making them better, but you're kind of making them better. Yeah. And it's unlimited, so you can do this with numerous wizards to lower a bunch of units rend, so that's pretty nice. It seems like the -1 damage is gone, which I think is also great. That was another thing that just felt bad to play against. And like some armies, it mattered, like ogres. When you play ogres, you're like, woo! And then some other armies, they just did a bunch of 1 damage stuff, and you're like, okay, my thing doesn't matter. So I like this more. I think it's just more fun. It's more fair. It seems like we're going anti-rend instead of 1 less damage. So now we got the Slan. 5-inch move, 9 health, 5-up save, 2 control. So I think he's about the same profile as what he was. In fact, let me bust out the old War Scroll here, just to have it on hand. And I can see right away he's got +1 to cast. So I believe that's what he had last. He might have had +2 to cast now that I'm thinking about it. Okay, my Age of Sigmar app just glitched out. Fantastic. Love that. Okay, here we are. Seraphon, War Scrolls, Slain. There he is. Okay, 594. So he actually got -1 to his save. He used to be a 4-up, now he's a 5-up. So that kind of sucks. His Azure Lightning is the exact same, but now he has Crit Mortal. Cool. He lost the ability to generate command points, which I think is because they've streamlined command points, so I kind of don't mind that. It's whatever. He used to be a power level 3. He's still a wizard 3. You can see down here. And he now has a 6-up ward. He used to have to be within range of the Astrolith Bear to have the 6-up ward. So now he just gets the 6-up ward, so that's pretty nice. I mean, maybe the astral has changed. We don't know, but if that's the case, like, he just gets the 6-up ward now, so that's pretty cool. And then he used to, where's his plus to cast? Beep, boop, beep. Add 1 to casting. Okay, he was +1 to cast, so that's the same. He can still unbind everywhere on the board, which is fantastic. You can use Banish. Pick a manifestation anywhere on the battlefield instead of 30, which is fun. I love that with the Slan. They just see the whole board. They're just like, bleh, right? These are magical frog powers. We still have Celestial Equilibrium for the rest of the turn. Add 1 to casting rolls for other friendly Seraphon wizards. So he does not get the +1. That's important to note. Still good. I mean, you could buff Lord Croak. You can buff your Skink wizards. You can buff another Slan you decide to bring if you want to do that. So then he has Arcane Vassal, which is still pretty strong. You can pick a friendly Skink wizard to cast through him. So the Troglodyte, the Skink Star Priest, stuff like that. I mean, it's good. You're essentially boosting your casting range by an extra 18 inches, which, you know, pretty solid. And then we've got the Celestial Reinforcement. So this is a big new one, because he used to have, they used to have summoning, right? You would generate summoning points and everything, and now summoning is pretty much gone. It's all about recycling units, and so he's got pick a friendly Seraphon unit that started the battle with 3 or more models and has been destroyed to be the target. This is also once per turn, your hero phase. Roll a dice. On a 4-up, set a replacement unit up within, or with half the number of models from the target unit, rounding up, wholly within 12, and more than 9 from all enemies. So, I mean, it's good, but it's 50% of the time. And it's, the thing has to have been destroyed. So, I mean, most of the time, this probably isn't going to do anything round 1. Round 2, maybe you've had a unit get destroyed, but you probably don't want something to be destroyed by round 2. But I guess if it is, you can bring it back. And then round 3 is probably the most realistic time you're going to start doing this. And round 4, you're very much going to be trying to do this. And then round 5, it doesn't even really matter because, like, the game's about to end. So, I guess it depends. Can those units move after they've been set up? I don't know if they can. I don't remember seeing anything about that, or I would imagine they cannot, because that's how it used to be. So, I mean, maybe you set up a replacement unit round 5 on an objective to help control it. That could be useful. But I guess rounds 3 and 4 are probably the main times you're going to be using this, and then, 50% of the time. So I'd rather this be on a 3-up at least, but it would also be pretty strong just bringing back, a bunch, like 2 Croxigors and stuff. So, like, it's pretty strong still, but I think you got to play and test it out to see how it is. We'll see. I mean, there's probably lists where you can, like, maybe you take the crit 2 hit battle trait and you just charge shit in, and it dies right away, and that's your whole thing, and then you start bringing stuff back, I guess. But, so maybe if you're, like, an aggressive play style, you can kind of play with this. So, I don't know. There's probably ways to play with it. We'll see. Next up, we have the Saurus Old Blood Uncarnosaur. Dude, I've wanted this guy to be good for so long, and I think he's finally there. So, first up, he used to have a 10-inch move, which he does now. It used to bracket down to 987. Now there's no more bracketing of the movement. He is on 15 wounds, 4-up save. Now he's on 14 wounds, 4-up save. So he lost a wound. However, his Sunbolt Gauntlet remains the same, but now it has shoot in combat, which is nice. Obviously shooting in combat's not a thing anymore unless you have shoot in combat. So gives him a little bonus attack damage there, like a mini melee profile. Or you can, actually just shoot somebody 12 inches away. Then he's got the Sunstone Spear. So he used to have the Celestite Weapon, and it's 5 attacks, 3s/3s, 1 Rend 2 damage, which is what it used to be. However, now when he charges, it's 5 attacks, 3s/3s, 1 Rend 3 damage. So actually buffed. And that's a nice buff, getting an extra +1 damage on 5 attacks. Mamma mia. Then we've got the Clawed Forelimbs, which are, it used to be 2 attacks, 3s by 3s, 1 Ren 2 damage, and it would bracket down to like 4s, 4s, and 5s. So 2 attacks, 5 by 3, 1 Ren 2 damage. Now it's just 4 attacks, 4s by 2s. So, I mean, it's still like hitting on 4s, which is like what it hit at when it suffered 6 to 11 wounds previously. But now it's wounding on 2s, which is nice. Although I think you could take the whatever sub-faction, so he'd be wounding on 2s anyway when he charged. But, I mean, whatever. And then 3 damage. So it actually went up 1 damage here as well. So it used to be 1 Ren 2 damage. Now it's 1 Ren 3 damage. And you're getting those 2 extra attacks on the forelimbs, which is probably the biggest thing. Like, this thing used to be 2 attacks. Now it's up to 4 attacks. And on top of that, if you take the crit 2 hit companion asterism, I mean, now you're getting 4 attacks. 6s hit twice, 4s by 2s, 1 Ren 3 damage. On top of your spear that's doing +1 on the charge. And then you've got his massive jaws, which used to be 3 attacks, 4s by 3s, -2, 5 damage, which would bracket down to 4 damage at 6 to 8 wounds, 3 damage at 9 to 11 wounds, and 12 plus wounds, it was down to 2 damage. So it was pretty bad once it got to there. Now it's just 3 attacks, 4s by 2s, 2 rend, 3 damage. But again, if you take that one thing, you're getting 6s hit twice, right? So, I mean, if you kind of bake these 2 War Scrolls together, you essentially got 7 attacks, 4s by 2s, 1 to 2 rend, 3 damage with 6s hitting twice. And then you got 3 damage here. Like, he's got pretty much his entire profile's 3 damage. So, I mean, you've got, what was that, 12 attacks, 6s hitting twice. Well, I guess only on the companion it's hit twice, but still. I mean, this guy is so much better than he used to be. Like, just, he's got more attacks. He's got the ways to proc the 6s hit twice. He's got better damage. The damage output getting bumped up is the big thing here. Like, going from 2 to 3 damage on a lot of these attacks is fantastic. And obviously, you had the massive jaws hitting for 5 damage before, but the reliability is much better on having the 3 damage on other stuff than having 1 attack do 5 damage and then him pretty much always getting bracketed down to like 4 and 3 damage anyway. So it's like, who cares, right? Like, now you just have the flat 3 no matter what. So I love this. I think this is just fantastic. I mean, I saw people saying that the damage output of the Carnosaur, it's pretty much up like 50% with this profile. So I'm very pleased with the Saurus Old Blood on Carnosaur. And we haven't even looked at his other stuff here. So the jaws bracket down to 2 from 3. So, I mean, honestly, not even that bad of a bracket at that point. Like, okay, cool. It sucks. You're losing an attack, but still, like, you've got so many other attacks to go through. On top of your shitty gauntlet firing off. If this unit charged, add 1 to charge rolls for friendly source units that are wholly within 18 of this unit for the rest of the turn. That's good. I don't think I have to explain why +1 to charge is good for your units. Subtract 2 from the control score of enemy units while they are within combat with this unit. That's pretty good. If this unit is in combat with any damaged enemy monsters, roll a dice. On a 3+, this unit has strike first for the rest of the turn. So the main thing here is this is if it's in combat with any damaged enemy monsters. So I guess what you try to do is you try to, like, pluck a couple health off of a monster, right? Like, you hit him with the gauntlet for like 1 damage, you shoot him with something, I don't know, and you get like 1 or 2 damage off of him, then you charge in, and then you're able to do a 3-up strike first on it and just mess it up, right? I think that's what you're trying to do ideally. You don't want to charge into just like a healthy monster. Like, you try to pluck it up a little bit and see how you can do. But I love this, man. I think this is probably the best the Old Blood's been. We'll see how his points are. He could be crazy in points, but I don't know. It seems fun. Pterodon Riders. These guys are usually... they're a unit in the army. So they have 16-inch... Previously, they had 16 move, 3 wounds, 6 up save. Now they have 14 move, 3 health, 5 up save. So they sacrificed 2 move for a +1 to save. I mean, that's pretty good. I'll take that. Javelins and bolas. They combined them into 3 attacks, 4s, 5s, 1 damage, crit auto wound. You know, negligible difference, I think. The 5 to wound's kind of wacky. And then you've got the Jaws, which 4 attacks, 4s are now 3 attacks, 4s, 1 rend, 1 damage, companion, so you could get 6s hit twice on that. And then pick an enemy unit that this unit passed across to be the target. Roll a dice for each model in this unit and add 2 to the roll if the unit's within combat range for each friendly Pterodon chief. For each 5+, inflict mortal damage on the target. If any damage points are allocated by this ability, and the target does not have fly, the target can use run abilities until the start of your next turn, and you also subtract 1 from hit rolls for shooting attacks that target this unit. So, I think the big thing here is this ability used to be once per battle, and it would do D3 mortal wounds. Now, it does 1 mortal wound. However, you can do this over and over again. So that's kind of nice. Like, you can fly over something, take an objective, and sit there, and then you did mortal wounds, and the next turn you can, like, fly back over them and do mortal wounds and then fly back. So, I mean, you've got some cool plays you can do. The fact that you can do this over and over again is definitely nicer. Plus, mortal wounds, again, are more... I think they're still there, right? But they're less prevalent, especially the shooting mortal wounds being a thing. That's less prevalent now. So anytime you can do mortal wounds not in melee combat, I think that's pretty decent, right? I don't know. We'll have to see how these are, but I think Pterodon Riders a little bit improved. I think they're all right. We'll have to see the points, but it's fine. Oh boy, here we go. Engine of the Gods. I remember when this thing used to be amazing, and then it was absolute garbage, and now I kind of like it again. So it's got 8 move, 14 health, 4-up save. It used to have 14 health, 4-up save, and 8 moves. So pretty much the same, but the movement, again, not bracketing down to 5 inches by the end of it. So he can keep moving. The shitty skink javelins used to be 8-inch range, 4 attacks, 4s, 1 rend, 1 damage. Now it's 12-inch range, 6 attacks, 4s, 1 damage. So they lose the rend, but a little more consistent. Honestly, not bad for, like, shitty skink javelins. Like, all right. And then we have the Stegodon Horns and Jaws. So Stegodon seems to have changed. He gets +1 damage, companion. So charge +1 damage in the companion. So, I mean, you're getting 6s hit twice if you take that one thing. And you're getting the +1 damage. And then 4s, 1 rend, 2 damage. So previously, the Stegodon engine... Well, I don't know if this was... I think all Stegodons pretty much had this. But the engine had 2 attacks, 3s, 1 rend, 4 damage. So pretty heavy hitters. Grinding Jaws were 2 attacks, 3s, 1 rend, 2 damage. And then the Crushing Stomps, he had 5 attacks, 3s, 1 rend, 2 damage. So I think they give him the bonus on the charge here. And then, obviously a little harder to hit, which I like that they're doing. It seems like every time it's a monster, it's 4s. Every time it's like an infantry, like they have different profiles for each type of unit, whether it's a monster, infantry, heavy infantry, like cavalry. And I actually like that. I think that's cool, having a base stat profile that makes sense. Because you go like, oh, it's a big monster. It's going to have a harder time being accurate because it's like, bleh, but when it actually hits, it wounds you, right? Like it's a heavy hitter. So, and then there's certain things where it's going to hit you, but it's going to have a hard time wounding you because maybe it's really weak, but it's agile, like an elf or something, right? So I really like that they've done that, even just from like a thematic perspective. But here we go. So his thing goes down to 4 when he's damaged. Cool. Once per turn, any combat phase, pick an enemy unit that charged this turn and is in combat with this unit to be the target. Roll a d3 on a 2-up. Inflict an amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll. Add 1 to save rolls for attacks made by that enemy unit that target this unit for the rest of the turn. So he used to just pick a thing and get +1 to save. Now, it's a monstrous rampage, essentially. But I mean, that's pretty nice. If he gets charged, he has the potential to get +1 to save and do some mortals on it, so it's not too bad. Although he probably wants to do the charging because he's getting the damage on the thing. But here's the big thing. The Cosmic Engine. The previous engine, I'm not even going to read it. It had just like, you had to roll a bunch of shit and save up power and do some other whatever. It was bad. Now, pick if this unit will harness or reserve the power of its Cosmic Engine. If it will reserve the power, place a Cosmic Power token next to this unit. If it will harness the power, Roll a dice and add the number of cosmic power tokens this unit has to the roll. Then remove all the tokens this unit has and pick one of the following effects if possible. So, on a 3-up, you can heal D3, all friendly Seraphon units wholly within 12. I mean, that's pretty nice. Healing D3 for everything wholly within 12 is pretty solid. On a 5-up, you can pick up to 3 friendly Seraphon units wholly within 12. Return 1 slain model to each unit. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that seems better than the Slan. Like, the Slan on a 4-up's bringing back half a unit. This guy's just straight up, like, chilling with your units. Like, he can sit behind the Agrodon Riders and the Croxagors, and your opponent just, like, kills one of each, and then you're just like, bleh, they're back. Like, it has no rules about not coming back in combat, right? Like, on a 5-up, pick 3 friendly Seraphon units wholly within 12, return 1. Like, they come back in combat. You can just sit behind them in combat and be like, all right, turn 1, I reserve my power token. And then on a 5-up, so I mean, on turn 2, you could have 2 power tokens, or you could try to go for the 50-50 and get this. And it's like, boom, like, you just bring back dead models. Like, that seems phenomenal. And even if you fail that and you're like, oh man, that sucks, you're still like, if you saved up a power token, as long as you don't roll a 1, which you're still healing D3. So I mean, even if you're sitting behind a bunch of units that are damaged and you can't return them yet, you can just heal them up. And then on a 6+, you can pick up to 3 friendly Seraphon units wholly within 12, and they get strike first for the rest of the turn, which is also nice. I mean, every one of these bonuses is nice. So, I mean, you can save up power tokens and go for strike first. You don't even have to save up. You could just try to roll a 6 and get strike first. I mean, I think this is so much more fun. Like, every one of these abilities is great. If you roll a 1, you don't shit yourself. Like, just being able to heal in a big bubble is fantastic. Being able to return models is fantastic. And being able to strike first is fantastic. Like, as long as I don't roll a 1, I'm going to be happy with whatever I do. I guess you would also fail on a 2, but if you turn 1 are just getting a cosmic power token, you're just going to be on a 3-up the next turn anyway if you use the token, right? So, I mean, I imagine most times turn 1, you're not going to be doing anything anyway. You probably don't have to heal. You probably don't have to return anything. Maybe you want to strike first, but probably not. I guess you might. It depends on the situation, but I really like this. I think this is cool. I really like the Engine of the Gods. So depending on points, I might just run an engine in like all my lists. I think this thing is like honestly really solid. I like it a lot. And that's pretty much it. There's also some Spearhead stuff, but I think Spearhead's going to be fun. We'll see once we get all the Spearhead stuff and I actually play some Spearhead games. But I mean, overall, I am really loving what I've seen from Seraphon so far. Like, it seems like they're a much more fun army to play against now. I mean, we'll see. But it seems like everything's kind of working together again. It's not like 2 separate armies. Everything's working together. Everybody's got their own thing they can do, whether it's the crit 2 hits or whatever. You get to actually... I also love the fact that you choose this before you go into battle against somebody, right? So if you're going up against somebody and you're like, hey, you know what? I don't really need +1 to cast right now. Like, he has no unbinds, or maybe it's only 1 unbind. I don't need +1 to cast. I'm going to take the movement so I can get to the objectives faster. Or like, hey, you know what? I'm going to take maybe they're a heavy Rend army, and you're like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to take -1 Rend from the start. Or you take the move, and then you go for the Rend the second thing. Or you're like, hey, you know what? I can beat him up. I'm going to go crit 2 hits right away, and then we'll see what I need in the 3rd battle round if I kill his stuff, right? I think that's really cool. So I'm loving this. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And if you want to see some more faction focuses, I'll put them up here. I've done them for all the armies that I care about. Okay? Okay. See ya.